What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Bianca Rain, and I am the business evangelist. All right, coming to give you information on all things business and finance. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right into it because I don't believe in wasting people's time. All right, so if you guys haven't seen the first one, I highly encourage you to go ahead, pause this video, go watch the first one so you can have a foundation. And I'm just going to get right into it. So, this is exposing the employee mindset part two. All right. So, now here's the thing I am a firm believer that every single person should at some point transition into owning their own business, right? But not just, and I mentioned the purpose of it and why in the first video. And this is a more like a how, right? Because I know people are thinking, well, Bianca, if everybody should own their own business, then who's going to be the workers, right? So here's the thing. And I'm actually jumping a little bit ahead, but I'm going to just go with the flow. So here's the thing. And being an employee is a stepping stone, right? And life goes into cycles. So at a certain point, right? If you don't, come out right at 18 years old, as soon as you get out of high school, already owning your own business, which some people do that. And I actually think that's fantastic. I wish I was one of those people, right? I didn't really fully begin to embrace like my entrepreneurial mindset until maybe like about 2012 and whatnot. And even then, I still was, struggling and whatnot because I was trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I go about this? Like, how do I do it? Right. So here's the thing life goes in cycles, right? So if you start off as an employee, well, here's the thing I'll put it this way, right? Those who own businesses, right? Some of them because have employees. So some people are like investors and whatnot because every type of business or ownership doesn't always require employees. However, um, you can be an employee at a certain point in time, right? And then you get educated, right? You learn about investing, right? Maybe you create an invention of some sorts, right? And figure out how to go about that, or pay for a coach or a consultant, or partner with other people who have the information. Watch free YouTube videos, right? Pray. There is something that you can do. And then what you do is you graduate, right? So you begin to use the money from your job, right? Instead of being a consumer and spending all of your money on food and going out to eat. That's still food, but spending all your money on Jordans and just unnecessary stuff, right? All of these subscriptions we pay for, right? And it's not everybody's fault. We have been conditioned to consume. And so I get it. I was the same way. I am not saying this because I've never done it. I know what it's like to be a consumer and you look at your check and you like, where the heck my whole check go? You know? So yeah, that's the employee trap. Or the paycheck trap. Just like my thumbnail says. The paycheck trizap. All right. And we want to break free from that paycheck trap, right? If you are stuck in payday loans, I'm gonna do a video on payday loans. Payday loans are the devil. All right. That stuff is horrible. But anyway, I digress. All right. So again, life goes in cycles, right? So you can be an employee, you graduate, you can start a business and be like a solopreneur at first, whatever the case is, and then you can move up. And what you're supposed to do is scale your business. If you have a brick and mortar business, right? There are plenty of different types of businesses you can own, right? I'm just dealing with one particular type in this video. And so, right, you move out the way, right? And then you delegate and you hire the right people to come in and essentially run your business. And you can step out the way and go ahead and move on to something else. Basically, that's how that goes, right? And so, like I mentioned in my first video, the purpose of multiplying your funds, right? Because the only way to multiply your funds is you have to invest your money or you have to create a business where other people work for you. And we're us humans, we're only one person. we can only do but so much, right? And this is why usually our paychecks, even if you make six figures, is usually not enough money because, again, you're only one person, right? And then if you do make six figures, which is pretty good, right, as a good start, by the time you able to make six figures, most people have to divide that money up by other people. People have kids, a spouse, maybe a parent they're taking care of, right? A house, a couple cars, right? So that six figures, that $100,000 income or $100,000 plus income, right? It gets divided up so fast. So then you kind of realize once you finally get to six figures, you're like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I'm still making $15 an hour, and that's the thing. So the goal is to figure out ways or invest in ways that will multiply your money, right? Turning $5 into hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, right? And that happens over time. It's not an overnight thing. So, and that's the thing. And so I do want to read this scripture real quick. Genesis 1 and 6 says, and God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from the water. So God made the vault. Is the water from the water? So God made the vault. I'm sorry. Where was I at? So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning. So that right there just described, I forgot the name of the cycle, y'all. I just looked it up the other day and I forgot to write it down. Or did I write it down? No, I did not. But it's okay. But we learned it in science class, right? And it's the water cycle. That's what I'm going to call it, right? So the water from the rivers, seas, lakes, even the waters on the ground, they evaporate, right? And they go up to the clouds, and the clouds hold them until it's time for a release, and it releases the water right back down, right? And so, with that said, that's how life is. Life is on a cycle. So you go employee, you can be self-employed, and then you scale your business, right? And so that's how that goes. But the problem is people haven't been taught. People don't know these things. And so most people that do work a job, they sing things like, well, I'm cool with my 9 to 5, or um yeah, I'm fine with my steady paycheck, you know, kind of thing. And it's like most people talk like that because they don't know anything else. They have not exposed themselves to anything else or been exposed to anything greater. So they only can see as far as they can see, you know. And this is why I'm so attaching purpose though to being a business owner and debunking a lot of the myths that are associated with owning a business. Because I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick too. This is gonna be a very controversial statement, but I'm gonna say it because I already made one. But which is everybody should be an entrepreneur at some point in their life. But the other thing too is that I forgot y'all. So I'm gonna move on. It'll come back to me. So here's the thing: everyone can create. Every single person on this planet can create something. You know why I know that? Because you was made from the creator. It is literally impossible to come from the creator of the heaven and the universe, okay, and not be able to create something. This is another thing I hear a lot of people say. Oh, well, I'm not creative. You know why people say that? Because they think creative is just, it looks just only a certain way. Like people look at creative people like people who can draw, people who can design clothes, right? People who can sing, people who are fashionistas, right? That is a type of creative person. You know, those people are, eclectic a lot of times, and they have a unique sense of style. I can sing, so I get it, right? But that's not the only form of creation. creation comes in many different ways. And I was at a bridal shower, I think 2 years ago, and we had to play a game where we were split up into groups, and we had to take toilet tissue, and someone had to be the model, and we had to take toilet tissue and make a dress, a wedding, like a on the spot wedding dress out of toilet paper. And it was so fun and so challenging, and I was really mad that my team lost. And because our wedding dress was bad, all right, that toilet tissue wedding dress was cold, all right, but the bride to be, she's the one who had to pick, so whatever. But anyway, the one of the ladies, or a lady I should say, that was on my team, she kind of was like standing back. She didn't really know what to do, and she was like, "Well, I'm not really creative, right?" And let me tell y'all, this lady, she's like a middle-aged woman, and she dresses to the nines. Like, she wears the cutest outfits every time I see her. And it's just like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, first of all, the way you dress is creative. Who told you weren't creative? Second of all, like, she can literally be somebody's personal stylist. That's just an idea, right? I don't know, but I'm just saying there is something that everybody can do. Not so that's number one, because we came from the creator. Second thing is creation is already inside of you. But a lot of people don't actually sit and think, right? And ponder, right? Or just pay attention to themselves on what they can do. Because again, it wasn't really instilled in you to bring out your creativeness, right? And so um we spent a huge chunk of our childhood, our early years, sitting behind a desk. And then you at work for pretty much about the same time, right? It's not a coincidence that, we're in school for about what, 6 to 8 hours, and then we become adults, especially if we go into the corporate sector. Then we're in corporate sector for another 6 to 8 hours. Okay. And so by the time you get off work, you're tired, and you just don't really have the energy to even think about what the heck it is that you want to do. And again, it wasn't really encouraged, unless you were blessed to be around somebody who did pull some of that creativeness out of you, right? So that's not everybody, but for the majority of us, we wasn't encouraged to really pursue our creativeness and embrace ourselves and how we naturally are. If anything, depending on where you grew up and who you grew up around, it might have been discouraged. Okay. And that's a shame. And so so I'm coming to tell you, I'm coming to break the chains off your mind that everybody is creative. If you were created by the creator, then you can create. All right? Period. There's that. And like I said, I mentioned the job is a stepping stone. Yeah, I wrote that down, but I already said that. So, whew, but why does this actually matter though? I'm gonna tell y'all why this matters, right? Because I in my first video I talked about purpose, right? But Jesus came to give us life, and life more abundantly. John 10 and 10. I'm about to go ahead and read that. So give me a sec. All right, so I'm going to read John 10 and 12 through 18. The thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Actually, I'm going to pause right there. Jesus came that we have life and life to the fullest. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not waiting just only to go to heaven to have my life to the full. I don't know if y'all know, but newsflash, living life to the fullest is even right now while you on earth. Y'all really think our life's supposed to suck and be just like miserable? I think, yeah, I know the answer. Okay. But I felt like that too. Like, I felt so hopeless at different points in my life. Like, is this it? Even after being saved. But, anywho, um, but I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. All right, it get good right here. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. But I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have others. Do I want to read that? No, I can pause right there. So, real quick, I'm gonna read verse 13 one more time. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. And first of all, this is the NIV version, right? I don't really read this version. I don't have a problem with it, but I just like the NLT. And so, but it's so interesting because as I was like preparing for this video, obviously I'm talking about, exposing employee mindset. And it's just so interesting that Jesus, and this is Jesus talking, he is using an analogy of a hired hand, aka a worker, and how the person who works, he don't care nothing about the sheep for real. Like, cause when that wolf comes, he out. But the shepherd who actually owns the sheep, he cares because he owns the sheep, right? And it's so funny because I had wrote down in my notes um, that there's value in ownership, right? And the reality is, a lot of us really don't one care about our jobs, well, y'all jobs. I currently don't work at one, but when I was an employee, half the time I didn't care about my job because I ain't own it. Now I did, mature, of course, and I took care of, my job and myself because I'm like, look, I'm trying to elevate. So I need to be on time. I'm not about to give my managers a hard time. You got to get to a certain maturity level when it comes to that. But a lot of people, they don't have a mentality to really care about their jobs and whatnot because they don't really own it. Right? But that goes back to the value thing because a lot of people don't actually value themselves, right? A lot of people don't value themselves. And so the thing about it and why this is important is because Jesus created us to create something valuable that will help change the lives of other people, right? But when you create something valuable, you own it. So when you own something, you see it in a whole different light. Like, you actually care about that thing way more than um than if you was just a higher hand, like the scripture said. And it's interesting because I never read that scripture, where everybody quotes, "Oh, the thief come to steal, kill, and destroy," right? But then it's like, read the rest, and it's like, wow. And I look at this too, like, the enemy, like the devil, keeping people in this mentality of being content with just being a worker, when really you can do so much more than just using up so much of your time going to a 9 to 5, right? We have so much more in us. And the thing about it, and this is why most people don't like their job. Like, it's so interesting because I talk to people all the time, and I don't even talk to them about business. I'll just I just pick up on stuff being around people. And then, I know people that'll be like, I can't own a business. That's just too much work, right? And then a couple of weeks later, I'll be around them and they'll be complaining about their job or something of that nature. But the problem is people don't understand it starts in like your mindset has to change. If you This is why I advocate for finding the type of business that's good for you first of all, right? And also finding something valuable within yourself to bring to the world. Because when you figure out how to do that, right, with the help of God, really, because you can't do it on your own, which that's actually good news. That's the beautiful thing about it. But the thing about it is, when you do something that you love, it doesn't feel like work, you know? And so YouTube is a platform that I'm called to be on. And I'm naturally a teacher. I'm naturally an information sharer, which is pretty much the same thing. I'm a giver, and I'm a people person. So for me, talking on YouTube is not difficult, right? And YouTube has the potential, if you reach the right audience, all of the things, right, to get monetized. And it doesn't require a whole lot of my time every single day. It doesn't. So I definitely probably gonna have to do another video. But I wanted to keep it a little brief now and just give y'all a little bit of a taste. Just to give y'all a little intro. Because I'm actually kind of going easy on these videos. These first two I did. But I'm coming back and I'm going in. Just wait. But anyway, that is all. I just wanted to plant those seeds and share that little bit of, exposing the employee mindset, guys. So you guys make sure that you like this video, leave a comment, share this video with somebody who this will help. And I will be back with another video. Toodles!